So here we're trying to put the horse in a haunches in. Um, his head and neck are a little cockeyed, so this is not a perfect example, which is good. In an ideal haunches in, his shoulders should track on the wall and his hindquarters should be inward. And because he has such a long back, um, you can ride different tracks for the haunches. You can have a certain degree of an angle off the track, but because he has a long back, his haunches should really be able to come off the track quite a bit. And that wasn't the most ideal example. His head was a little twisted, so the head and neck should be straight against the wall, and that should be your track. So you should be facing forward, not to the left or right, and the haunches should be facing in. Stepping under himself, so you should see that hind leg step under, the outside hind leg should step under his body. So this is a shoulder fore. So just remember, shoulder fore is not a shoulder in. It's about half of the angle as a shoulder in. Again, he's kind of rigid here. You should see, now in shoulder fore, as opposed to haunches in, they look in the direction they're going, but in shoulder fore, they should be looking to the inside of the ring as if he were going to be turning that way. So he should have more of an angle than he just did in that shoulder fore. Okay, so here we go again. This is a little bit better. So the purpose of the shoulder fore is to get the weight on the hind end. So you're positioning them, the outside shoulder, the horse should be facing in. So that sets the weight back on his hindquarters. So that was a little bit better. You could see his head and neck were straight and the angle is a little bit better. His haunches should be straight on the rail and the shoulders should be facing in. Not as extreme as a shoulder in. This is a shoulder fore. Here's another haunches in. There, that's a little bit better there. So in haunches in, remember your shoulders are straight with their shoulders. So since you want his shoulders to be on the rail, your shoulders should be facing the direction you're going on the rail. Your hips should be aligned with his hips. So your seat is really important in both of these lateral movements. Your seat should be helping them cross over. Again, in the haunches in, your outside leg should move back to push the haunches over. Your outside rein is the half halt, and your inside rein is helping him stay in the position. Now we're going to do these movements at the trot. Okay, so here's a shoulder fore. Your inside leg is at the girth and it keeps the bend and the forward impulsion like usual. Your outside leg is behind the girth and that keeps the bend throughout the body, and that's just kind of like your stabilizing wall, but it helps maintain the bend because there is still a bend even though you're in the shoulder fore. Here's a shoulder fore again at the trot. So your inside leg is providing the impulsion in the bend. Your outside leg is behind the girth. You have your outside rein is really important. You have a nice firm half halt. It's like a flexible rubber band. And your inside rein is staying aligned with his neck and shoulder. Your outside rein should be kind of low. Here's a haunches in here. So outside leg comes back behind the girth, inside leg stays at the girth to keep that shoulder from moving over. So a big difference in the haunches in and the shoulder fore is the direction that they're looking. Here's a haunches in, so he needs to be looking straight ahead here. So his shoulder and head and neck should be on track with the wall, and the haunches hind end should be facing towards the inside of the ring. So that has a big deal to do with your hips. Your hips should be aligned with his hips. So if you want his hips to kick over to the inside, you need to help guide them there. Same thing with the shoulder fore. If you want his hips to stay on the track, you should help push his hips back to the track. Here's a shoulder fore. Again, you want your shoulders to be aligned with his shoulders. So you want his shoulders facing in towards the ring. Specifically his outside shoulder. You want that pushing over towards the inside of the ring. So you want to help him by lining up your shoulders with his shoulder. And that one was much better. So he gets looser. And you can notice in the first couple of these exercises, his inside track was kind of short. He was kind of choppy, and now they're getting looser, and he's reaching a little bit more over, which is a good sign that the work is working. So the haunches in is really great for the outside hind leg, getting that to step under. So it creates flexibility and suspension of that outside hind leg. So when you switch directions and you even it up, then you're creating a really good back end on both legs. And then the shoulder fore, or when you get to the shoulder in, which we work on too, you're putting the weight back on the hind end, so you're helping them to push from behind and get stronger with that back end there. There's the haunches in. So as he became more loose and warmed up a little bit more, the exercises became more fluid, and he was reaching a little bit more through that shoulder and that hind leg.